This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of North Haven.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Stacy Yarborough. I'm the North Haven Town Clerk, and pursuant to the North Haven Town Charter, Section 903, I now call this special town meeting to order. As Town Clerk, it's my duty at the town meeting to order and convene the meeting. Yeah, but before we begin, we also must elect a moderator. The moderator is nominated and elected by the members of this party, which means you. It's the moderator's function to bring before the meeting all items of the warning, sorry, I'm getting older, and to assist in obtaining the objective of the meeting while ensuring the rights of individual voters who wish to be heard. The moderator's duties also include helping any member of the meeting who seeks clarification or advice as to parliamentary procedure. Further, when it comes time to vote on any issue tonight, including the moderator, please be aware that you have to be an elector. To be an elector in the town, you have to be a registered voter in our town at the time of the most recent election, or one who pays to the town an assessment of property of not less than $1,000 on the most recent grand list assessment. A citizen of the United States, as well as being 18 years of age or older. This regulation will be enforced all night. If you don't know if you're an elector, come forward and I can look you up to make sure you are. This time I'm going to open the floor for nominations for for meeting moderator. Are there any nominations?
I'd like to nominate John Lambert as moderator for this evening's meeting.
All righty. Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I will now put this to a vote. All in favor of Mr. John Lambert as our special town meeting moderator tonight signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by saying nay. The motion passes. I now declare Mr. John Lambert as our meeting moderator.
Thank you. The town clerk will now read the call of the meeting, please.
Thank you, Mr. Lambert. On January 7th, 2019, the following was noticed. A notice is hereby given of a special town meeting of the Town of North Haven to be held on Monday, February 25th, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. in the upstairs conference room number 1 of the North Haven Memorial Town Hall, 18 Church Street, North Haven, Connecticut, for the following purpose. 1. To consider and vote upon the following. A. Resolved that in accordance with the recommendation of the Board of Fire Commissioners and the Board of Finance, a sum not to exceed $750,000 to be appropriated from the fund balance of the Town of North Haven for the purpose of purchasing a 2019 fire engine pumper.
Thank you. The town clerk will now read the the first and only item on the agenda of this special meeting.
Thank you. To consider and discuss the recommendations of the Board of Finance and the Board of Police Commissioners. A. To appropriate a sum not to exceed $750,000 from the fund balance of the Town of North Haven for the purpose of purchasing a 2019 fire engine pumper.
Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion with a correction. I think it was read Police Commission.
Did I? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it should be Fire Commission, but I would make a motion to that effect.
To approve.
Yes.
Is there a second to this motion? Second. There's a second. Discussion. We are open for discussion as a town meeting at this point. Is there anyone who would like to say something? Please.
Mr. Moderator, thank you for acknowledging me. I'd like to just address the large audience that's assembled here this evening for this purpose. You know, there's a couple of things that are happening right now at the fire department with regards to replacement apparatus. There's essentially 3 apparatus that have been identified as having to replace. And these are the same 3 apparatus that were identified in 2014 with the proposed bonding package. To date, what's happening is one of the apparatus being discussed this evening, it would be replaced at $750,000 for a new pumper engine, would carry water. It will be inclusive of most all equipment that it would be needed to carry. The second apparatus, I have a grant submitted for through the FEMA AFG, and we'll hear about that later on this calendar year. And then the third apparatus would be something I'm looking to address through this current budget cycle, and that would be to replace an engine with a used ladder truck. So the intent of why we're here tonight is what we've seen is our apparatus has, again, we tried replacing these same three in 2014. Our apparatus has reached a point now where the constant maintenance and the constant downtime is impacting our operations. We're holding off and sending out additional apparatus for more repairs because we can't have more than typically one apparatus out at any given time. So we reached this point now where we're kind of at a critical time where we need to make a rapid purchase for an apparatus, and the intent is by doing this now through the course of this meeting, we can place the order and be several months ahead of when this would arrive. For this engine to be built according to spec, which is something we haven't done very often, it's looking at 10 months to 12 months for it to come in. So by doing this now, this time of year, instead of having to wait, let's say, for the next budget and doing this in July or August, we can get a good 6 months head start on the ordering. So that's the intent, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that the audience may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Katz? Well, just address it, and if the chief wants to respond.
By the way, for you that don't know it, that was Chief Januszewski, our chief of fire department. You're talking about taking $750 out of the fund balance. I thought we were leasing these. We decided to lease in the future. That's question number one. You did answer my other question about it's going to be built to our specs and that's taken off the line. This is the way we want it, correct? Right. Question, if this goes out of service because of a warranty item, do we get a replacement from the manufacturer while it's under warranty? No. So we're on our own. All right, so it's just that one question about leasing versus buying.
And if you'd like to take the floor back, please take it.
So we've only ever leased one apparatus in, let's say, the last 30 years I'm aware of. I can only speak to probably the last 30 years. And that was the ladder truck at a $1.2 million expense. This being more or less half of that, the intent, I believe, of the town would be to take this out of the fund balance, and it doesn't hurt our bottom number according to the most recent audit. So it makes the most sense to do this now and pay for it entirely out of that balance.
Thank you. Mr. Selectman, Mr. Frida.
So I just wanted to tie in what Chief Januszewski just said. The reason, Sherman, we're not leasing it, we're taking, a lease would be a 3-year lease at roughly $250,000 a year. So by not leasing it, we are not putting the $250,000 in this year's budget, which would be a taxable item as far as a mill rate calculation. The town has healthy reserves. The rating agencies are thrilled with the reserves. We're about 8.4% right now. The $750,000 out of the fund balance, which is the rainy day fund, is being used to fund this vehicle, which keeps the first, second, and third year's worth of leasing, if we went that route, Sherman, out of the budget. And that's why we're doing it. We should be very fortunate to know that we have these healthy reserves so that we can do this. This is why we have a fund balance. This is why we have the healthy reserves. Not only to maintain a AAA rating for the town, but also to do things like this when we need them. And the chief has made a good argument as to why we need it, and it's something I support out of the fund balance. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Yes. Please come up, state your name and address.
My name is Nancy Barrett. And while I would agree with the chief that historically it's true that for many years the town of North Haven has rejected the fire department's request to purchase new fire vehicles to replace the aging vehicles, I think that currently The town has 7 engines in operations, including Engine 3, which is a 32-year-old Pierce engine, Engine 8, a 27-year-old engine, also Pierce, and our newest engine, Engine 1, is a Smeal triple combination pumper, which is a demo model that was acquired for about $500,000 as an emergency purchase back in 2014, when Engine 2 was removed from service due to irreparable braking system. And as the old saying goes, hasty decisions are rarely good ones. So it seems like we've been regretting that particular purchase because this demo has recently come under scrutiny because of significant repair issues that the chief described during his budget workshop presentation last month. So tonight, I'm hoping that we're not going to make a hasty decision and that we are carefully considering a request for $750,000 fund balance appropriation to purchase a new engine plus equipment. And while this request is not in response to an emergency, it is clear that we need to replace aging apparatus. However, I think that we should make such a major purchasing decision only when we have all of the best information that's available. So what's missing? So as the chief mentioned, in addition to his request for a new engine funded by the North Haven taxpayers, the fire chief has also applied for a FEMA grant to purchase a new pumper engine, specifically $625,000 for the engine and $125,000 for equipment. So this grant application is currently pending, and back at the January 29th Fire Commission meeting, I asked the chief for an update on the grant, and he wasn't sure about the exact timing of the award announcement, but suggested that I could visit the FEMA website. So I took his recommendation and went online to the FEMA website to look for the award announcements from the Assistance to Firefighters Grant, or AFG program. And sadly, there wasn't any information, but I did take it a step further, and I called the phone number that was listed under questions, and the person that I spoke with said that, this is last week, that the decision regarding the FEMA AFG grant applications would in fact be made in the next 4 to 5 weeks. So since this was last week, we can now say that hopefully in 4 weeks' time, we should be notified that the grant was either awarded or turned down. So to be clear, while I'm not opposed to the purchase of a new pumper engine for the North Haven Fire Department, since this is not an emergency purchase, I would like to propose that we simply pump the brakes and defer this decision for a very short period of time until we have all of the information. The question that we should be asking ourselves is, why should we pay for a new pumper engine when we might get it for free? If we don't get the grant, then by all means, we can place the order in a month. If we do get the grant, however, then we can get a new, custom-made pumper engine, not a demo, and the fire equipment at no expense to the town. Isn't this a no-brainer? Now, keep in mind, it's not that we have a shortage of functioning engines in our town. A few are just very old. So the current average age of the 7 engines is 18.6 years. If we replace a single engine, particularly the 32-year-old engine, with a new one, preferably on the federal government's tab, then we reduce the average age of just the engine fleet to 14 years. While it seems, at least to me, seems logical to recommend that we explore what we can get for free before reaching into our pockets to pay for it, there are other reasons for fiscal restraint. And specifically, last week at the Board of Finance meeting, Mr. Frieda cautioned the North Haven residents about the potential changes in our state budget, new bills and initiatives that are currently not reflected in our town budget and could significantly strain our town's financial condition. Given the unpredictable increases in expenditures, in particular municipal funding of teachers' pensions, and potential decreased revenues such as pilot reimbursement, car taxes combined with the $50,000 exemption could put up to $22 million in reduced cash flow revenues for this town. Given all that is in a state of flux, I think that it would be fiscally prudent to delay this vote until we can determine the results of the FEMA grant application. If Mr. Frieda's recent warnings prove to be true, we will need to draw upon our fund balance in its current full measure. I hope that you will agree that delaying this vote by 4 weeks is the responsible thing to do and in the best interest of the North Haven community. And I'd like to entertain a discussion about this. Thank you.
The matter under discussion is the motion that is on the floor right now. But Sally Buemi.
Good evening, Mr. Moderator. Thank you. Sally Buemi, 5 Blossom Drive. I support the purchase of this fire engine. In the 5 years that I've been on the Board of Selectmen, I think this is the 5th fire apparatus that's come before us, and this is the 5th one that I am in support of. I think that reasonable people could disagree on the number of firefighters we might need or their appropriate allocations, but I think that all reasonable people agree that our fire department and our firefighters need the appropriate equipment to effectively and efficiently do their jobs. So I am in support of the resolution for this purchase. Regarding Ms. Barrett's comment, I will say that I do acknowledge the merit of her argument. It certainly is meritorious to say that you should have the best information available before making such a major purchase like this. So I can understand her point of view, and she's absolutely right that at the last Board of Finance meeting, Mr. Frieda did give us a potential warning of losing $22 million in revenue. So she was correct in that. So I understand her concern for fiscal restraint. It's a reasonable position and certainly a meritorious argument on her part. However, I think we need both engines because we have a 27-year-old engine and a 32-year-old engine, and for that reason I support the resolution as read, and I would urge my fellow citizens to vote yes on this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Yes.
Mary White, Summer Lane. I support the purchase of this apparatus, and there is a saying, I think it goes something like this: he who hesitates is lost. So we do have the money in the fund balance, and I think that there's clearly a need, and I think that we should approve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes. Pat.
Pat Nestalillo, 7 Mansfield Road, North Haven Fire Commission Chairman. I absolutely agree with the request for the $750,000 to purchase the pumper for the North Haven Fire Department. It's a piece of apparatus that's absolutely necessary, and hopefully we will be successful with a grant to be able to get another one in the future. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing no hands, I will put this, we have just one matter to vote upon, and I'll put this call to a vote. All in favor of the resolution, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. I declare that the resolution is passed, and there being no further business before this special meeting.
Can you ask for any abstentions, please, Mr. Moderator? Is that possible?
I don't think an abstention.
Do we normally? I thought we normally ask for abstentions. I voted in favor. I'm just asking.
I don't think. First of all, we have a clear majority in this room, so
everybody deserves a voice. Okay.
I declare this a resolution passed, and there being no further business before this meeting, I declare it adjourned. Minutes of this meeting will be available as soon as possible at the town clerk's office. Thank you.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.